It's ironic because I actually didn't coin the name, as many people know. It was Dale Doherty who coined the name in a brainstorming meeting with Craig Klein, who's now deceased, but was working for the predecessor of CMP. But it was really about ideas I'd been talking about for about, at that point, 6 or 7 years, around this idea that we were going to see an internet operating system. And when Dale came up with the name, and then he brought John in to actually sort of build this conference, and I went, oh great, that's what I've been talking about. So, a lot of, so it's sort of definitely Web 2.0, even in the sense that, it's sort of like harnessing the intelligence of others. This was really a group effort, kind of all the threads sort of gathering together. And so then Dale brought John in, we started brainstorming the conference. We launched the first one in 2004. Was a moderate success. In 2005 was when I wrote the paper, What is Web 2.0? And so we put my name at the top of the Web 2.0 Google list of John first. And I was sort of trying to pull together the ideas that we've been working from and sort of make it sort of into a public document. But then what really led to this conference was the fact that when we did the summit, we renamed the summit in this fall, we had 5,000 people who wanted to come to this invite-only event, and we had to turn away. And we thought two things. One, that we needed to have an event in a much bigger space where we could have lots more people. And two, we also needed a different kind of event. You can't really have, John's original design for the summit was as a sort of exclusive CEO summit, business model law, what he does with the industry standard. And you can't have an exclusive CEO summit with 5,000 people at it. But also, we realized that we needed an event that covered the practical how-to side. It wasn't just sort of, the CEOs and entrepreneurs up on stage sort of talking, the theory of Web 2.0. We needed to actually have practical instruction on how to do things. So those two things, the need to have a much bigger event. Actually, three things. The third was there's all these vendors in the space now, and so was the possibility of having an expo. So all these things came together to say, oh wait, there's a complementary conference that we ought to launch, and so that's what we did here with the Web 2.0 Expo. We're in for some huge disruptive upsets, and I don't know that the Web 2.0 era, if you want to call it that, is going to last as long as the PC era before there is the next wave of disruptive innovation. I think it's going to be shorter before and it's not going to be Web 3.0, it's going to be something else entirely that's going to upset the apple cart. Web 1.0 and Web 2.0 are the same thing. It's Web 1.5 that was different. It was sort of during the dot-com era where everybody kind of came in and they thought, oh, this is like television, and they tried to sort of, it was about eyeballs. Tim's original vision of Web 1.0, Tim Berners-Lee, was exactly what has come to fruition in Web 2.0. Web 2.0 is just the rediscovery of Tim's original vision of what really Web 2.0 is partly this phenomenon that we started with identifying about this sort of renaissance on the web, but it's also about kind of just a gathering place for the entire computer industry. Sort of like in the day there was Comdex, which wasn't just about the PC; it was really just the place. And I think we kind of hope we can kind of make a gathering place, for the entire computer industry, because this is becoming the dominant paradigm.
You think Web 3.0 means the semantic web, where everything works as a tag database that understands each other, the machines are talking to each other, and so on. What happens if that's not it, right? And then all of a sudden you filled up a brand, so to speak, with something that it's not. So I worry about that. I vastly preferred what happened with Web 2.0, where we all agreed this is a nifty way of saying the next evolution of the web. That's what we were trying to get to. And then the whole community decided what it meant after it got out, right? And then that became a conversation that people picked up on.
You can often name
and an argument on it, which is good.
You can often name things once it's happening. It's sort of hard to predict. That's I think one of the things. Like with the O'Reilly Radar, our blog, we don't. It's sort of people think it's about predicting the future. It isn't at all. It's just about paying attention to stuff that's happening right now and saying, "Oh, this is important."
Okay.
And sometimes framing things that belong together that you wouldn't have put together, as part of the same story. So a lot of the Web 2.0 story was just saying, wait, there's this and this and this. They're all happening at the same time. They add up to something meaningful, and creating a new container for all those concepts. And I think the semantic web I think probably overlaps too much with what we're already talking about. I mean, when you talk about harnessing collective intelligence, I think the semantic web is actually a continuation of that same concept. So it really is just a continuation of our understanding. Look at what's happening with Vista and Microsoft Office. They're kind of, Microsoft is saying, oh yeah, this is a bigger launch than Windows XP. But the fact is, there's twice as many PCs and it's maybe 10% bigger. So something tells you that it's not actually catching on as well as they'd like. I think Windows. This is probably the last great packaged software release. I just don't think there will be that many more.